Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, everyone. I hope you're well. It's Mr. Ali with a real story on ZMC Network. I hope you're well and enjoying the fantastic evening that we have in store for you. And as always, ZMC and myself bring you the highest of caliber of guests. And before we start, I'd like to always share with you the latest COVID dashboard, the figures that we have for Birmingham. So please do listen. The cases are still on the rise. 3,116 in Birmingham at this moment in time. That is an increase of 614 compared to the week previous. In terms of the areas that have the highest numbers, please do listen out for your area, starting with Selly Park, which has 537, followed by Ladywood, which has 377, Perry Bar, which has 363, Hall Green, 363, sorry, Ward End, which has 345, and Glebe Farm, which has 329. In total, where we are with the vaccine, you'll be glad to know 2/3 of all UK adults have now had the vaccine, which means that approximately 35 million people have had the first dose, and in terms of second dose, 46 million people have had the second dose, which means thereby they are 95% protected against the immunity as well. Tomorrow, the Al Quran Mosque here in Alam Rock have got the COVID vaccine, the mobile unit hub, which means that the Pfizer vaccine will be vaccinated to those people that turn up with or without an appointment. There's no appointment that is required. There's no ID questions that are going to be asked. You just turn up and you will be vaccinated. And the good thing is there's going to be a male and a female separate vaccination unit hub there at all. So please do turn up. If you are waiting for your vaccine second jab, then you can also turn up as well, as long as there has been a roughly 8-week gap between the first dose and the second dose. Without further ado, I'm going to now introduce to you my VIP guest that is going to help me to talk about the recent sad scenes that we've had as a result of England being the losing finalists from last weekend of the Euro 2020. It has been an amazingly successful tournament. However, the last few moments that we saw on Sunday evening has left a very sour taste on everyone's mouth that is connected and loves the game of football. So today I have Abid Khan, who is not only very closely associated with young people and also football, but he's also part of the Equality Council as well. So warm welcome to you to your second home, which is ZMC Studio. So how are you, Abid?
Thank you, Mr. Ali. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you for having me this evening. Thank you.
Yeah, more than happy to. It's nice to have you roll reverse.
It's been a while. I've been AWOL, but inshallah I'll be making a return soon.
Yeah, and then I'm actually looking forward to going back to the studios, hopefully from next week as well. So, you know, like most of us in the country, but you must have been very euphoric with the 4 weeks of the game. Some of the games were really fantastic, plenty of goals, real open play. Before we get on to today's topic, really, maybe just sort of, you know, your overarching moments or your memorable game or your favorite player or goal over the last few weeks. What's really been the standout moments for yourself?
I think that the most memorable game was England v Germany. That's always memorable, and the fact that we
yes.
was amazing, and it was a great tournament considering we missed it last year. You know, they've done a fantastic job of actually putting it together and making it happen. And as you say, it was fantastic to start with. It brought the nation together. It was a great tournament. Pity about, you know, France and Portugal. A lot of the big teams being sent home early. But England, we actually, when I say we, England, we actually thought that we had a chance of actually bringing it home, but it just wasn't meant to be.
No, most definitely. And you mentioned France and the other team that you mentioned, but my money was on Belgium. You know, the way they were playing, the defense. You had also Lukaku, who was, you know, just like a beast. But you know, as always, they just fell short, didn't they?
Yeah, but I mean, my money was as soon as England. I mean, the England Scotland game was a bit poor, and you thought maybe, but then as they progressed and when they beat Germany, I thought, this team is young. This team has no memories of sadness. This team is totally fearless, and maybe and under the great leadership of their manager, you thought maybe they may just clinch. And to be honest with you, on the final, I think they played their hearts out. But the Italians, obviously, with the with their wisdom and their experience and the elder players, just managed to clinch it.
Yeah, well, you call it wisdom, I call it wily gamesmanship. Really, the pullback by Cellini. You see, that was a assault. That was a assault. But you know what? They know how to get the results.
Yes. I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, they won. However, they knew how to win, and their experience kicked in, and they're obviously they played many more games, and they've got the players are a lot older. They're a lot more experienced, and they've done whatever it took to actually win. So but yeah, next time
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah, and talking about England, we had some amazing performances. You had the Pickford as a goalkeeper. Even though I despise your team, I must say the central defender, Maguire, played amazingly well. He really grew in stature. The two midfielders as well, they did well. But for me, I thought just of his creativity and some of his run backs to help the defence. Raheem Sterling, for me, was the England player of the tournament.
Yes. If not possibly the player of the tournament. I mean, without Raheem Sterling, we would have been, out of the tournament many games before. I mean, he was a playmaker. He caused all sorts of problems. He was outstanding.
Yeah, I think my player of the tournament was the Italian little striker. I can't pronounce his name. Caesar, the one who's going always past two or three defenders. But anyway, the reason why we're talking about this was when it came to penalties. That is like our mental block. To be fair, I couldn't watch it. I didn't watch it really. But as soon as you knew that when Rashford, when he hit the post, when Jordan Sancho as well, when he penalty got saved, and then the young lad Saka came on board. That all happened. You know what? For those of us who followed football for a long time, you know what? I was hopeful that it was going to go that way, because the way this time round, normally when England play, I'm going to be honest that because of the racism part, I don't really sort of overly want England to win. But this time round, because of the diversity of the players there, the whole country got captured. I was rooting for the football coming home. But some of the scenes that we saw afterwards, certainly on, you're very prominent on social media, but also people then, criticizing the players, and in particular their race, their ethnicity. Again, just gives us, people who love football, who are involved in football, must be, the young people that are watching or playing the game. It just sort of, demotivates you and just puts the cause back by 10 years. So, just maybe share your thoughts. And I know you follow social media. What was your reaction when you saw some of the comments and the scenes and the words?
I think it's absolutely disgusting, and it's not just towards the black players. Racism as a whole, generally, I think in recent times we've possibly gone back 10, 20 years. A few years ago, there were signs that maybe we were getting over it, but it just seems like we take one step forward and maybe 5 steps backwards. And you kind of see generally in the workplace, professionally, and it almost seems like it's institutionalized. It's within the DNA of this country, and it's very unfortunate to say, being a British-born Asian. I'm born and bred here. I'm educated here. This country is giving me everything, but unfortunately, We speak the same English, we wear the same clothes, we drive the same cars, but because of our complexion and because of our color, we do get treated slightly different, and it's very, very sad. Had they scored them goals, they would have been, they would have put statues up, because they missed the goals. Yes, maybe they shouldn't have missed them, and maybe that's a completely separate argument. But had that been a player of a white player, what would the reaction have been? I mean, Gareth Southgate missed a penalty, and 15 years later, he's still feeling the repercussions of that. But why anybody should insult somebody based on their colour? It just astonishes me. And throughout the tournament, I mean, in the first game, second game, third game, Raheem Sterling, just as one player, was instrumental in getting the team through. And he didn't get possibly the recognition that maybe he deserved. The papers, the front pages were covered with other players, but not the player that actually got the team through. And that was a bit disturbing, and it was and it was very apparent as well. It was very apparent.
I fully agree with that. So even before we get to the final, in the quarterfinals, in the semi-finals, it was Raheem Sterling's performances that allowed for us to get to those knockout stages, and even some of the goals that he put on for Kane came because of Raheem. But like you said, in the media, Raheem's picture wasn't on the front page. It was all about Kane, and people started to realise.
In the third game, Harry Kane scored in the third or fourth game. Until then, he was literally sleeping, right? But I mean, the minute he scores, he's all over the front pages, and it's all about Harry. It's all about, he's the captain, and he's a fantastic player. But the man of the moment for me, for England, was Raheem Sterling, and unfortunately, he didn't get, he didn't get a fraction of the recognition that he deserved.
Yeah, and then you talk about the institutional racism. So we've already now sort of shared how the national media are always promoting that sort of, the Kane sort of type of player where, he's a savior. It's because of, a typical sort of a sort of non-black player. It has got us to where we are. But then you also had, Boris Johnson and his comments. You also had, Priti Patel, some of her comments where initially she was against the gesture, you call it the gesture politics of these guys taking the knee. And then at the end, when they suffered the racism, she obviously tried to capitalize on that. And Tyrone Mings really summed it up for me perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, it's political, isn't it? I mean, we sit in all types of arenas, and as I say to you, I feel like as a nation, we've taken one step forward and maybe 5 steps backwards when it comes to equality and diversity and all inclusion. We talk about the LGBT agenda, we talk about various other agendas, but the main core agenda and the main core fundamental we've maybe overlooked, and that is the agenda of the whites and the non-whites being treated equally, and it's very unfortunate. And I'm 46 now, and I've always been a believer that racism doesn't really exist, and sometimes maybe being people of color, maybe we like to play victim. But just recently, I've kind of changed my views with what I've experienced and with what I've seen. And to be honest with you, it is shocking. You would think, being in 2021 now, we would have moved forward leaps and bounds, but it just seems very unfortunate that we are actually going backwards.
Tell me more, please, Albert. Tell me more.
I mean, just football and sports generally. There's the Asians, the people of color taking part in that. It's getting less and less. And after what's happened with the football, which parent is going to be happy now about encouraging their child to go into football or to take up football professionally? Something that you've championed and I've championed, trying to get Asian players into football. But after what's gone on, it would appear that the parents were maybe right. Maybe football isn't for Asians, and it's very sad.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's talk about the main community rather than just specifically Asians or black. And if you look at the wider point that you make, for me, I think this will put off a certain number of parents from allowing their young children to go into the sport. Maybe, yeah, by all means have a kick around, but if they've got
Yes.
any talent and they start getting scouted by the teams, they'll say, "Oh no, I don't think we want to expose you to that sort of the changing room environment or some of the comments that you hear on the football pitch." And at the same time, like you, I'm a very passionate, sort of England supporter, and I have my England shirt on. But some of the comments whereby people were saying, "Look, take that Three Lions shirt off, you so and so," expletives
Yes,
and
yes.
so on. And all of a sudden now it's getting me to question: should I change or should I be a bit careful of wearing the England shirt? Because sometimes we get sort of caught in the middle. Some of our own community are saying, "Look, what on earth are you doing?"
I'm the president of the Equality Council. We had calls and emails from people from colored people who were saying that we are afraid to leave our house because we're going to get attacked. Or we even had one call saying that we've been threatened not to leave our house because they lived in a predominantly white area, and they felt imprisoned or isolated within their own house. Now, in 2021, in England, in the UK, that's not something that you could ever imagine. People being confined to their own houses because they're feared for their life. It was very, very sad, but it just shows the true colors, unfortunately, of the society that we live in. And we like to talk a very good game. We want to be all PC and we want to be all correct with what we say, and we want to show our best behavior. When it actually comes to it, as a nation, what are we? And I think that was displayed on the final and after the final, exactly what people's true colors were. And it was, Twitter. There was that chap from that property company who made some remarks, and there was many high profilers as well who made some very crude remarks, which I think is absolutely disgusting.
We're going to come on to the social media in a short while, but I just wanted to come on that point about the institutional racism, really. How many of the FA, the football organisation, the association, how many of those board members are non-white? How many top managers do we have that are black? We're not talking about Portuguese and some of these other ones. I'm talking about black people, irrespective of where they are from the world. How many are there?
Yes.
They're not many. So there's almost like a glass ceiling. You can be a good player. We'll have you as a player, but in terms of coaching, managing, in terms of on the board level, you're not quite good enough. So I think the FA need to have a very hard look on both in terms of the shambolic organisation on Sunday, and including the Met Police, but also at their own body, how diverse and representative it is. And you are the one that are saying kick racism out. So it's almost like you're saying get your own house in order first.
I think what they need to stop doing is treating the equality and the equality agenda as a tick box exercise and actually doing it for real. Because we all talk about equality and diversity, and we all have this agenda within our organizations. But for many, unfortunately, it's a simple tick box exercise that, we've actually done this. But when you actually look a bit deeper, nothing's changed.
Yeah, most definitely. And now moving on to social media, I think they have an enormous responsibility to play here. But one thing I must say is I think they are they aren't the cause. It is the atmosphere that we create. Because of Brexit, we have become very divisive. Anyone that is now sort of more in touch or sort of politically correct, or the term is woke now, is deemed as left wing and illiberal. And so these are subliminal messages that are being put into the media. And then now everyone who has a social media account think they can say and type and do as they please without any consequences.
Social media can be very dangerous. You had Instagram today who issued an apology over one of the emojis, which was racial. I don't know which one it was, but apparently one of the emojis was racial. Social media can be a very dangerous place. I mean, listen, we've just come out of COVID, and you know the conspiracies that were fueled by social media. First of all, we had the whole 5G thing. Then we had the whole COVID thing. Then we've got the vaccine conspiracies. We're still living with them conspiracies. Then the conspiracies that maybe England made the black players take the penalties because they wanted them to miss. There's all sorts of stories out there, honestly, and these are all fueled and driven by social media. So they do have a responsibility, because if they're allowing such crazy information to be put out there, it is going to affect people, and it is going to create an environment and create an atmosphere. It does need a slight bit of controlling and monitoring.
I agree, and I think also when people do create an account, I am a firm believer that there has to be some sort of a verification check of where you live or person's ID, because there are too many fake accounts that people have got, and they're using that as a backdrop, or that as to hide behind some of the vile comments that they are attributing.
It just takes one rotten apple. It takes one rotten apple to spoil the whole box. And as you say, on social media, if you post something in a group or on a page, and that picks up traction, before you know it, that particular message has now gone viral, and you've created a new cult of followers. And before you know it, that thing is now global. This is the power of social media, and the ones who use it in the correct way. Social media is absolutely amazing, but it also can be very, very dangerous. And the companies that run the platform need to take some sort of responsibility. If you have a business and you have a website and people are putting negative reviews on your website, you will be there trying to take the negative reviews off. In the same way, if people are putting rubbish onto social media, or information that is not confirmed or correct, then then the companies have a responsibility to monitor that.
Absolutely, well said. I'm going to also possibly it'd be interesting to get your thoughts, Albert, in terms of Southgate, because when those three black players took the penalty and they duly missed, then Southgate said it was my decision to pick those 5 penalty takers, so don't blame them. But at the same time, he said we are going to be there to support them. We're going to be there looking after them. And I thought, why are you even saying that? We're going to be there to support them and make sure that we come together. If you are the ones who decided who are the penalty takers, then you should be taking all the flack. Don't even shift the spotlight onto the 3 players. Am I reading too much into it, Abid? Or
no,
is there a truth in that?
Personally, I think what he possibly meant by that was listen, before this England career, he was known as the guy who missed the penalty. Okay, so nobody knows that experience better than him. There's nobody better qualified or equipped to understand what them players went through, regardless of their colour, regardless of who they are. Look at where they were, Wembley Stadium, at a final after 50 odd years, and they've just missed a penalty. Will they ever forgive themselves?
I think it's going to live with them for the rest of their lives.
That's it. So I think Gareth, his leadership skills were exceptional, and that's the only reason England got to where they got to. And I think by that statement he meant, because he still lives with that, with that nightmare. So in terms of support, I don't think he meant racially. I think what he meant was emotional support and mental support, right? Because they will need it. It's not a small thing, So I think that's what he meant by that.
No. All I was saying, if you said, look, it was my decision, any responsibility, any portion of blame, I will take it on my shoulders. And if you finished it there, but by then saying, oh, I'm going to be there supporting the players, it's almost like then you're shifting the focus onto the players as though they are responsible, and I'll be there to make sure that.
The thing is, he made the decision, but they took the kicks. They missed the kicks, not him. He took the decision, but they missed the kicks. So if anyone's going to suffer, it's going to be them. If anyone's going to have mental torture, if anyone's going to have nightmares for the rest of their life, it's them. So I think he's absolutely exceptional.
He's okay. No, no, that's fine. You know what? In saying that, you know what? This is why I love this beautiful country of ours. There has been a small minority who, were very vocal, use the anonymity of the social media to put some vile comments out there. But at the same time, the Rashford mural in Manchester, that was also violated. And did you see? I'm sure you have seen how the local community and the national have gone there, put messages of love and support, and that just restores my confidence that 90%, maybe even 95% of the typical people that make up this wonderful, diverse country of ours are, we just accept and love each other. It's just that small minority.
That's that's very true, and this country is a beautiful country, and the people are wonderful. But the thing is, that minority, what allows them the freedom to do what they do is the fact that things can be sometimes too lenient. They are allowed to say what they want. They are allowed to preach what they want. They are allowed to come out with all sorts of profanity, right? Why should they be able to do that? It's just, you can have 10 good people and one bad person. The poor victim, put yourself in their shoes. They've just missed penalties for England. They are responsible for us not bringing the cup home. And on top of that, you want to start insulting them about their color and their background. And they serve your country on an international stage.
Yeah, no, most of it was.
Yeah.
We're just coming towards the end of the show now. We've just got a couple of more minutes left, Albert. I'm going to bring it back to grassroots and here local. You mentioned earlier, both of us are very keen, coaches and have a vested interest in developing young, BAME players, Pakistani players, Asian players, black players, and make sure that we do elevate the ranks of football. Do you think that we will see a real floodgates of Pakistani Asian players coming through into professional leagues by the time we're another 10, 15 years? Or do you think
I don't think we'll see that in our lifetime. I think clubs and stadiums and the FA need to take serious action and ban any sort of behaviour like that at all. Completely ban the culprits. It's going to take some really, really strong action to get the message out there that we won't. I mean, this is not the first time in the in the Premier League. We're constantly hearing that so and so player was insulted, or so and so player was booed or spat at, or there's always something going on. How long will the FA allow this? How long will this go on for? Until they don't take a very harsh stance on this and completely ban these people. It's not very hard to find out who they are. They've got CCTV everywhere. They know every movement. They know everything. They know everything that's going on. It's very easy to pick these individuals out and press criminal charges on them, because it is, it's hate crime. And until you don't do this and make an example of a few, people will still think that it's okay to do it. What gives anybody the right to insult somebody based on their color? It's 2021. We live in the UK. It's just beyond me. It's just beyond me. It really, really is.
Yeah, well said. And you know what? We have seen wonderful, talented players that are really performing well. They steal the show, but unfortunately, the scouts don't sort of pick them up. Even when they go to the trials, they have to perform 120% in order to even sort of make it to that next stage. So, as much as, we're a bit downhearted, I'm still optimistic that hopefully we'll have a handful of players that will go on to play for some of the top teams in the Premier League.
But again, it's down to the people at the top, and it's down to the FA, and it's down to the.
Albert, you still there? I think we're just having some technical issues with Albert, who was just going to talk about how the emphasis and the responsibility still lies with the FA in order to make sure that the racism is completely kicked out of this game. We talk about it, but the rhetoric is not longer acceptable. We have to pull that through in terms of our actions and our deeds. And if that means fining people, we should do. If that means fining the social media, we should do. If that means custodial sentences because of the vile that is being spouted by the individuals, that should also then be strongly sent out to everyone that no longer is any kind of bigoted, any kind of racist or Islamophobic views or words are going to be tolerated as well. So unfortunately, it seems as though the technology has got the best out of our. I'm just going to read a couple of comments if I can. So, Javed Akhtar, how are you? Hope all you're well. Jadni and Chad Abul Bhai, Jadni and Chad Abul Bhai, yes, we salute you. Big shout out to Abid Khan, community leader. Just read out some of the comments on social media. But big shout out to Abid Khan, community leader, long time no see or hear. It goes to show the real pandemic that history has never found a cure for and never will is racism. White people will always feel more superior than black people. You can get on both knees. You can get on both knees and it doesn't make any difference. Well said, Javed, actually. If I can just maybe sort of bring everything together and give your final remarks as well. And also, if you want to use this as an opportunity, I know you were asking for some board members on the Equality Council. Please use this opportunity to share that as well.
Yeah, I mean that's thanks for the opportunity, Ali. But I'm a firm believer as the minorities, we at times, and we are guilty of that as well. When the decisions are being made, we're not on the table, and once the decision's been made, we like to sit on the side and say, well, we did this. Well, this is the opportunity. The Equality Council UK is a national organisation, and it does what it says on the tin. Equality Council UK. Champion of equality and diversity. We are looking board members because I want my own community to be in there. If we're fortunate to be in these positions, then that would help into these positions and to get into these boards and to understand what's going on. And everybody's contribution is priceless. So we are recruiting today and for the next 2 weeks. I'm looking at members. So please do apply. We'll put the email address in the post below. It's a voluntary position. The experience that you will gain from this and the learning that you will gain from this and what it will do for your profile, no one can give it. I do a lot of these positions which are voluntary, but you know what? It really does serve you well. And the Equality Council UK, we are looking for board members, strategic partners. We're also looking for equality ambassadors, people to champion protected equality strands. Please do get in touch with me. And apart from that, Mr. Ali, great. Thank you for having me on the show. On the very soon with the Sunday show. We're just waiting for the studio to open up again. As you can see, I have a problem at home with my but their Wi-Fi is not the best, so I've refrained from doing an online show, and inshallah.
Thank you, Abid. You take care. As always, the man of the community, Abid, who has a number of hats that he wears, and giving a shout out to everyone that may be interested in sitting on the board or as an ambassador to the Equality Council as well. So I hope you found our conversation with regards to racism in football and how we can work together through politicians, through the government, through the Football Association, and make sure that they actually mean what they say. And also for us as well, not to tolerate, I'm talking about as a community, for us to not tolerate and stand together and call out those people, whether it's in the stadiums or whether it is on social media. Let's stamp it out. Please take care, look after yourselves and each other.